Saturday evening. At Wisconsin Saturday, our post game will be in person in the media room right outside our locker room, so we'll do that like we did at Maryland. Tomorrow or this week, Wednesday, we have Wrestling Media Day, 1 o'clock on the main floor of Carver Hawkeye Arena. Coach Brand's at 1 o'clock. And then Thursday, we have Women's Basketball Media Day, 10 a.m. in the Feller Club Room with Coach Bluter. And then just a note on the Minnesota home game that weekend, Andre Tippett will be on campus to receive recognition for the College Football Hall of Fame, and the 1981 football team will have a reunion that weekend. With that, we'll get to Coach.
Thanks, Steve. It's only been 40 years, so great for Andre to be coming back. So, good afternoon. Hope everybody had a good week, and just start out by recognizing a couple of our players. Great to see Matt Hankins and Riley Moss are going to be finalists in the Thorpe Award, and I know Zach Van Valkenburg involved with the Lott Award also, so happy for those guys certainly and wish them the best for a lot of reasons. So I know last week you got to meet with the 4 coordinators. Hopefully that was beneficial and helpful, and just share a couple thoughts, and then we'll get moving on to Wisconsin for obvious reasons. So, as I said last week, it was a tough loss, obviously, last time we were out, and we have a 24-hour rule, and it's really tough to put that into action, when you have a little delay there. So probably the best thing happened to us was getting back on the field Wednesday, having a chance to, start moving forward and actually, thinking about football again. So it was great. I think it was productive for us overall. I think our team needed some time physically to get regrouped a little bit and emotionally. Tough 7 weeks certainly for all of us. And, I think overall, as I've been saying, we got a pretty young group of guys, and I think, this was really important for them to regroup. You think about last year, we only played 8 games. A lot of just, irregular things last year. So a good chance for everybody, I think, to get back, get their feet back underneath them. I think we've seen some growth, and I'm optimistic there's more to follow. So that's really, where our focus is right now. As we sit here, we're 6-1 right now, going into the second part of the schedule here. Obviously a very important stretch for all of us. And you just look out there, I think last weekend's exactly what kind of illustrates what I've been trying to say for the last 7-8 weeks is, there's a lot of good teams out there, a lot of competitive teams out there, and games get decided on Saturday. And that's what it is. And everybody wants to predict them, but it's not that easy. Again, last weekend was a really good example of that. I think good illustration. I think that's what we're looking at now. There are a lot of good teams in our conference, and it's a 5-week stretch, and really that's where our focus is right now. What can we do? And most importantly, obviously, at this point is this week. So shifting into that, playing Wisconsin, our captains this week will be Tyler Linderbaum, Matt Hankins, Jack Kerner, Spencer Petras, and Ivory Kelly Martin. We'll have 5 of them this week. Riley will not make it. He won't be ready to go, and Deontay Craig looks doubtful unless something really special happens there. So we're probably looking at least another week with both those guys. Talking about Wisconsin, first of all, it's a trophy game. It always starts there. A lot of respect, certainly, for what Coach Christ and his staff have built up there, what they've done, how they've played so consistently for so long. And, Paul's done a great job since coming back. Went to school there, has been in that program, certainly understands the DNA of the success that they've had. And when you watch this football team, it's what you'd expect. They're a big team, physical team, athletic team, very aggressive, play outstanding defense. Offensively, really starting to hit stride now. Last week was certainly, I think, a big week for them. And, just like you'd expect, they want to feature the run. They did a great job of that last week. 2 really good backs, and they're very good up front. Got veteran receivers, and tight ends as good as you're going to find. So really good there. And then they play hard on special teams, and they play really well on special teams. So, it looks like, they're hitting stride right now. Really a good football team, and it's going to be a big challenge for us. Certainly a trophy at stake. That's important. And all in all, just good to get back on the field and start competing again. So we'll look forward to that opportunity, that challenge. And our kid captain this week is Madison Williams. She's a 9-year-old from Carlisle, and 9 years old and already, had 19 surgeries. So certainly a really great story, and glad to have her honored this week as the kid captain. And I'll throw it out for questions.
You said that throughout the year that from the outside looking in, there are problems with the running game of the offensive line. You didn't look at it from that lens. When you had time to go through the bye week, kind of what did you see when you had a chance to look at the first 7 weeks, and how much growth has that unit made from then to now?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much where it left it a week ago Saturday. We're doing some good things. We had some really clean runs the last couple of weeks that were very well executed and, what we hoped for, and some really positive gains. But, too many inconsistencies, and that's always a challenge offensively because it really does take all 11 to have, good execution. Defensively, sometimes you can get away with a mistake, and, if they don't catch you at the right spot, it really isn't as notable, but certainly tends to be in the running game. Then, even compound that, you might have a good 5-7 yard gain and somebody doesn't get a block downfield that is doable, and then, now you're eliminating those plays that might be 15, 20 yards or even beyond that. So those are the battles we're fighting, and we're still young, we're still inexperienced up front. That's probably our biggest challenge, I think. You look at it coming into the season, I got as good a center as there is in college football. We had 2 other guys that are pretty veteran, but both those guys have been limited by injury. And the good news is they're working their way back, and hopefully this 5 weeks they'll be full speed, and that'll help us. But we still got a lot of young guys working. But the good news is those guys have a chance to improve more dramatically than a veteran player typically. So that's the race we're running, and hopefully we can take a step forward this week. It won't be easy. These guys are really good on defense. And the run game especially, where they average like 55 yards a game. So, 200 is probably not realistic, but we have to run the ball effectively to have a chance to win.
How helpful has it been to have Tyler leading that otherwise inexperienced offensive line group?
Anytime you have Tyler's just an outstanding player. And no matter what position, those guys are really special, so it really helps. And, with our youth and, again, having two of our veteran guys miss some time, somebody's got to really help kind of lead the way, and he's been great that way. He's a really encouraging guy and says what has to be said. But the biggest thing is I appreciate is just the way he does things. I mean, it's first class all the time and just, top effort all the time. And that's even in the spring. I mean, I can't remember him having a bad play, let alone a bad practice in the spring. So that's what you hope you have good players like that around the whole team just to help everybody kind of elevate their performance.
Do you anticipate continuing a rotation, especially at guard, or do you think you'll kind of slow that down now in the last stretch?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it plays out. The other thing that factors in when guys are hurt, their conditioning level is not what it should be or, could be. So that's the importance, the value of being able to practice and, just build up that. It seems like the term right now is callous. I've heard that one on the radio a little bit. I like that. It's good. So anyway, but, you know what I'm saying, just being game ready and all that type of thing. So we'll gauge it, but I think we're gaining ground. I'm optimistic there, and that'll certainly help us. And the good news is that some younger guys are getting really good experience, and we're seeing good things with them too. So we're just going to keep pushing forward. They're going to be fine.
Do you think that everybody's kind of set in their positional groups? Like you wouldn't see Cody Ince, for instance, go out to right tackle.
No, yeah, I think we're pretty much where we, kind of in the right sections, and it's just a matter of, how many snaps they can play per game and all that. Yep.
When you saw how Wisconsin prospered on both sides of the ball against Purdue, compared, starkly to you guys the week before, what particularly struck you about what Wisconsin was doing and how it applies to what you have to do against them?
Well, I don't want to speak for Paul, but I mean, if they played like that every week, they might be 7-0. The teams they've lost are really good teams, so you got to factor that in. But they played, just watching the tape, to me, pretty much flawlessly the other day. And I think you can say the same thing about Purdue 2 weeks ago. So again, that's just an illustration of football. It's not automatic. You don't get to carry things over one week to the other. Hopefully, you're building all the time, but that sometimes when you're building, you take steps backward too. So I think the key thing is don't overreact either way, and just try to do what you can to keep moving forward and seeing what you can do to improve as a team. And I think certainly Wisconsin, I don't want to speak for them, but I can't imagine that wasn't their best game this past Saturday. They looked really impressive in all three phases. And again, I'm not saying I know what they want to do, but I think they're probably, I'd be happy if running the ball like they did. The backs, both backs, just about 300 yards between the two of them. So Their line played really well. Tight ends, the whole 9 yards. They really played a really good game, and the turnover battle was clearly in their favor. So, that's what you're shooting for, and I'm sure they're looking to do that each and every week out. And we'd love to do the same thing. So, we all do things a little differently in our personalities, but the idea is to play great football and, not turn the ball over, play clean football, and Wisconsin's done a really good job of that really since the early 90s.
I think Nate Stanley and Spencer combined for 39-15 record, if I'm doing the math right, as starters. So obviously not a knock against them at all, but they're not the most mobile guys in the world. Is there anything is that a philosophy, I guess, recruiting-wise for you guys at quarterback to kind of get those pocket passers, or is it just kind of what you can get, I guess? And
I mean, we're history lesson there. I mean, we'll take the best guys we can get in any position. That's kind of, so, be it Brad. I mean, Brad wasn't our first choice. He was a high school player. Chuck Long wasn't the first choice either. It was Doug Strang. I can quote that one, from New Jersey. Was going to Penn State. And the story is, I wasn't there, but the story is they went out and called Chuck after Strang said he's going to Penn State. And we ended up with Chuck Long, who really had no offers to speak of at that point. We played with Mark St. Clair, might have been 6 foot, at center. That's just kind of how we've recruited. I think the same thing with quarterbacks. We're just trying to get guys that we think are really good players. I can't remember who the high school player was we liked better than Brad. But it wasn't Brad Banks. He wasn't the player of the year in the Big Ten. I know that, or the AP player of the year. So, you just, you take the best guys that you see out there in the quarterback situations, especially like that. And we're committed to building around the quarterback, I guess, is what I'm saying. So, Beathard, probably of all the guys last 20 years, or at least since Brad's probably the best athlete we've had. And that worked pretty well. But so did Stanley, and, Spencer's done pretty well, too, as a starter. So, that's just kind of, we don't necessarily get to pick the guys, in a mold, like the pro guys do. We're not quite in that ballpark.
It's the other part of the running game is the running back position with Tyler leading the way. How would you assess how he's progressed through the year, especially in this game where it might lend itself to more running? Could you see or foresee him having, uptick of 25-ish carries like he had against Penn State?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how the game plays out. But, no, he's doing good, and Ivory's doing great, too. And speaking of another guy, he's been injured a little bit, and he had a little soreness a couple of weeks ago, but he's bounced back and doing really well. And I feel like we have 2 guys there that really give us a good, veteran punch, if you will. Both those guys have played a lot of football and played good football. And then the next tier is you got Gavin and LeSean, who are, younger guys, but we're encouraged by them, too. They do some good things. So we'll just see how it plays out.
go ahead.
At the fullback position, how important is Pottebaum in terms of what you're trying to do with the running game?
Well, it depends what personnel group we're in. We're trying to run out every personnel group that we have. But, Monty's a really good fullback. I mean, just maybe as good as we've had. So it certainly helps when he's out there. And, he's been a little nicked up, too, as you might imagine. Fullbacks tend to get that way. So, hopefully this rest will help everybody having a week off. And, the older guys not having contact, hopefully it'll be good for everybody.
You didn't mention Lachey. Is he back in the mix?
I'm sorry. Yeah, he is. Yeah, he practiced this week. He's been full speed.
Okay,
so
that helps.
Expect him to be there.
Right?
Definitely helps. Yeah.
What as far as cornerback goes, it seemed like Hankins was bothered by a shoulder in that game. Is he without Moss and Nate? I don't know where Hankins' status is, but
yep, he's practicing too. So he and Roberts are our 2 corners.
What is prognosis, I guess, with Riley then? Northwest?
Well, it's week by week right now, or day by day, actually. But he's gaining ground, so we're optimistic. Hopefully next week, but there's no guarantees. But it's improving. So.
But Roberts and Hankins probably.
Yep, they'll be this week. Yep, unless something happens, hit a deer or something like that, and on the bus ride up. We did one year. I think it's coming home. Yeah.
I wanted to ask
the bus won. It was lopsided.
I think Brian said that once before. Your freshman wide receivers have seemed to have accelerated in their development.
Yep.
I mean, do you feel as comfortable with them now as you do with your veterans who are in that high rotation, or are they still trying?
I'd say pretty close, yeah. They're both, they haven't hit the wall. Maybe it's coming, hopefully not. But they've been around doing good things in practice, good things on the game field. So, we're encouraged by both those guys. They really have grown and done a lot of good things. And Brody Breck's back on the field now, so we're getting to see him play football too, which is good. coming off an injury. But yeah, really happy with those guys, and we'll playing pretty much about 5 guys out there, so we'll keep rotating them.
When you look at Arlen in particular, to play multiple receiver positions is not easy,
Yeah.
especially somebody at that age. How has he been able to do that, and what kind of confidence do you have him moving from Z or to the slot?
Yeah, it's not the same as like a lineman being able to play multiple positions, but it is somewhere. Some guys just do it a little bit more easily than others, and other guys, let's just, especially younger guys, let's just keep them in this one spot, let them develop comfort level, and then we'll see if we can move them later. But we've tried to throw a lot at guys and just kind of gauge where they're at, and he doesn't seem to be affected by it. And maybe part of that was he's a quarterback initially out of high school, who ended up playing receiver, running back, all that stuff. So maybe he's just used to it from what he did in high school.
And you look at Keegan, he's seems to be mature beyond his years, very serious almost, but pretty physical. What are some of the talents that he has at the X, and how can that be used more frequently?
Well, yeah, I think you just kind of hit on it. He's it's hard to make him smile. He will every now and then, but he's pretty serious about what he does, and has worked really hard at it. And again, but just hasn't been overwhelmed by what we've asked him to do. So it's good, because we came into that position. Obviously, one of the guys we thought would be able to, I'm not saying help this year, but Brody Breck we recruited for that spot. So at least it's given us some help where we maybe didn't expect it as much, and that's been good. And so we'll just keep pushing forward and see what he can do. Yep.
I'm curious, you and the guys have talked about splitting the season into 2.
Yep.
Now that we're actually here, how does this kind of today and the last week or so, how does this feel like the beginning of the season? In what ways, and in what ways is it a little different? Yeah,
it was good to get back to work Wednesday. It was really our first day on the field with everybody. So that was good, just to it's like anything, and especially after a loss, it's just, there's nothing that makes you feel much better. It's just a sour feel until you get on the field and actually start, not only thinking about moving forward, but actually doing something to help move forward. So that, it wasn't real scientific, but it's just the way our season fell out this year. So we just talked to our guys in camp right at the end of camp. Hey, it's a 7-week block. Let's see what we can do. And, we do get credit. We do actually get credit. It's not like at the start of the year, we won 6 straight last year. There's no credit there, no carryover. But we actually do have something in the bank right now, so that's positive. But all that being said, really what matters is what we're going to do here moving forward. And I think our guys understand that it was a good time to break that way mentally. And, now it's like running a 5-lap race as opposed to 7. 5 is a hell of a lot easier. This is like a 400, I guess, right? Which, believe me, I never ran track in high school, but it's basically you run as hard as you can for the whole race, and that's where we're at now. Like, you just full speed ahead, and then we'll see where we're at when it's all over.
Considering how familiar you are with the Wisconsin program, does that heighten or raise your awareness to maybe some surprises that they could throw at you this week compared to other teams that maybe you don't expect the same every year?
Yeah, it's a little strange because, there's a lot of continuity within both programs. So, in some ways, date yourself a little bit, but think back when Pittsburgh and Baltimore were playing, back in the early 2000s. Like, they pretty much knew what each other were going to do. And in the NFL, you play teams twice a year. So that's really kind of a strange phenomenon, too. But you really get to know people really well that way. And again, just a ton of respect for what they've done since the early 90s when Barry took over. So, I think, they got an idea what we're going to do. We got an idea. But still, there's that spy versus spy stuff, and you just never know what you're going to start out thinking to each other. But really, it's probably going to boil down to, playing clean football. And then if opportunities do present themselves, then you got to do something with them. And if you can cash in on enough of them, you got a chance to win, and if you don't, you're going to be the loser. And again, that ball security thing is just huge, really huge, and that was a big thing this past Saturday, and on their ball game. But that's so true in football, especially when two teams are pretty competitive against each other.
The number 2 running back for Wisconsin is Braylon Allen, 17 years old. He's got 3 straight 100-yard games.
Yep.
Have you ever seen anything like this?
Well, yeah, Tony Dorsett, who's my age, I think ran for 100 plus every week. First year in college, weighed about 165 pounds maybe at Pitt. Like that was 73. So it doesn't happen often. We just got done talking about Keegan's maturity, and I think certainly you say the same thing about this young guy. What's really interesting, if you look at their depth chart from last year, the running back position last year versus this year, and you got 3 new names, and obviously they did a really nice job of no slight against the players that were there last year, but they've really done a good job of addressing that position. And that's one thing. If you think about Wisconsin over the last 25 plus years, it usually starts at the running back position. They've got somebody that you know who they are, or you soon thereafter learn who they are.
It seems like these two teams, the players over the years, since they play so frequently in similar styles, that there's almost an added excitement knowing that it's going to be a physical battle, that two teams that pride themselves on the same type of image. Do you get that sense too? Is that something you ever express to them, or do they just inherently know kind of the mettle of their foe going up there?
Our guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, they know. I mean, especially the guys that have played, they know. There aren't. I can't imagine there's anybody bigger in the country, man for man, certainly in the offensive line. And we're probably at the other end of the spectrum, quite frankly. Size-wise, if you look at sizes of offensive lines, we're probably in the bottom 10%. Because everybody's so big now, but their guys are big, strong, and they are physical, and they really try to block you. And it's been that way. This will be the 23rd year I've got to witness that firsthand. So you just kind of know going into it what it is. But I'd flip it over on defense too. Their interior guys are big. Their linebackers could play center for us. Probably they're bigger than Linderbaum, and it's just that's how they're wired. That's how they're built, and it's worked really well for them. I'm not saying they're the New York Giants defense is 86, but there's some parallels. I mean, if you look at the size of the guys on those two units, they're just big people, and they're super veteran in the back end. So all those guys are, like 3-year starters. So, it's kind of hard to find the weakness in there.
Do you sense that there's an added energy just because of that physical nature?
Yeah, because you might get run out of the stadium. If you're not ready to go, it's going to be a battle, and that really. Yeah, that's motivating, because they're a tough football team. They always have been.
I think Phil said Logan Jones is back. Is he like in the mix at all?
He's back working. But yeah, he's missed so much time, and that's I don't want to be right. Just keep going over that. But especially with Lyman, I mean, he's a really good prospect, and we were so hopeful he would be in the mix. Yeah. But when he had surgery, it's just you miss so much time. Those 15 days of spring practice are really important. Especially in the lines for building guys. So, he's a really good prospect. We love having him out there, but it's just good to have him back out there. He's not quite there yet.
Did you mention Ince? He was out last time.
Yeah, he's practicing right now, so fingers are crossed. Yep, hopefully he's doing a little better. I think that week will help him a little bit. Yep.
In line with what you just said about how big they are, especially on the offensive line, kind of what do you foresee in terms of challenges or keys to stopping that rush offense and at all 3 levels of defense? And does it help coming off of a bye week that they are able to be fully rested for this upcoming?
Yeah, that'll help certainly. But that's if you're a fan watching, like I don't know how many. I think they were credited for 10 throws Saturday. So a lot of fans don't appreciate that. But I think if you watch the film, it's if you understand the pressure that they put on you, because they're just coming at you, they come at you, and then all of a sudden one of those things. And I'll fully admit, like I'm not a great fan, TV fan, so I was kind of doing some stuff at the counter. Purdue punted the ball down there. They had the ball down in terrible field position, so I put my head down. I was doing something, and I popped back up. Next thing you know, it's like on the 25 or something like that at the other end of the field. I'm like, how'd that happen? Well, he hit a 70-yard run right down the right side. And I saw that on film. Okay, so I didn't see it on TV. But I'm trying to figure out how the hell the ball get down there that fast, and that's what happened. So my point there is they just run it for 2, run it for 3, and then all of a sudden there goes that one that somebody doesn't fit where they're supposed to fit. And these backs both find it really well. And, you got to tackle them, too. And that's the next play, I think it was, or at least when they scored the touchdown. Purdue had it defended, but they couldn't tackle the back, and the guy's in the end zone. So 2 plays. however many yards it was, 85, 90, doesn't matter. Just that's the pressure they put on you, and they love that game. I mean, they just love to, make you feel that pressure, and then they're going to mix some pass in with it too to make you just can't sell out totally. So it's a different kind of pressure than like somebody that's just throwing the ball every 23 seconds, one of those deals. That's hard too. So it's just a different way of trying to torch you, I guess.
You've dodged overtimes this year, but what did you think when you saw the Illinois-Penn State thing last week?
That was one of those things you couldn't take your eye off. Okay, I didn't look down. I did watch, and my first thought was, I had two prominent thoughts. I'm not so sure I buy this new rule change, first of all. I'm not sure I liked what I was watching, but and then the other thing I was amazed by, there were no commercial breaks. So they went from here to there, and down there, and back and forth like a tennis match, and those commercial breaks are excruciating, aren't they? I don't know if they're as bad for you guys as us, but there were none. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Those are my two observations.
Did that seem like any way to decide a winner of a game?
No, not for me. I mean, and I haven't watched a hockey game in 10 years probably, but like the shootout stuff, I'm not a big fan of that. You play for an hour, you go back and forth, and then, it's like shooting a free throw thing at the carnival or something, right? The state fair. You get a Cupido. It's just, no, I'm not a big fan of that, but I don't think anybody asked about that one either. That and Election Day. I'll save that one for next week.
You don't have to take a day off next week, do you, for Election Day?
I think we do.
Do you?
Yeah.
For local school
I
boards?
think we do. Yeah, dog catcher and tax collector, all that stuff. So I'm pretty sure.
Vote for Phil for dog catcher?
I like dogs now. I wouldn't do that.
How does that throw things off when you don't have that Tuesday to practice?
We'll cross that bridge next week, but it's just, I get it. I know there's a presidential election. Thank God we're 3 years away from the next one. So, but yeah, I mean, it's just, we'll save that one for next week. Hopefully we don't have to address it.
Coach Leach down at Mississippi State despises candy corn. We're getting to Halloween season.
Yeah.
Are you in the same idea with that, or what's your maybe top 3 ranking for Halloween candies?
Yeah, I'm not that colorful. So.
You call him Coach Leach colorful?
Yeah, I mean, he's a fascinating guy. I highly recommend his book. But I'm thinking about Wisconsin's line right now, and that ain't candy corn. I know that. So yeah, we got some. We'll see what we can do. Okay, thank you.
Thanks.